I'm Jeff, and welcome to Tools, Technology, and Training with today's episode of What's Your Story and Andy Pollina.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, it's pretty good. I appreciate you coming on in the afternoon here and sharing your story and letting us know what's going on. Now, you're up in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah, yep. I love it here. This town has really grown a lot in my 47 years on this earth.
The of your shop is Legacy Auto Tech. And you have a very interesting story because you were telling me you actually rode your skateboard past this shop way back when.
Yeah, I grew up on the southeast side of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Um, my family's all from Chicago, but I'm the first one that was born outside of Chicago. And when I was young, I grew up here, and this is a local service station just right in a neighborhood. And I used to ride past here on my skateboard, my bicycles. I never thought twice about it. I remember going past here all the time, but never once did I think I'd end up owning this building and this shop. Back then I had no interest in cars yet or anything, and it's just weird.
So when you say service station, so it was a service station, pump gas, and had a couple of bays.
Yeah, yeah, they were towards the tail end of pumping gas when I was young. Um, but yeah, the previous owner, he had it for 42 years. He got it, I think, in 1964 or so. He was like 18 years old when he got into this place, and yeah, he was a fixture here for 42 years, and since the 20s. I mean, he had it for 42 years, but it was in business long before he had it. I mean, this building's been here, yeah, since the 20s. I mean, we found
Oh,
check stubs in the attic from repairs done in the 20s and things like that. So it's pretty cool.
and because you've been there about 17 years.
Yep. Yep. I've had it about 17 years now. I'd never stopped here. I was always kind of scared of the owner. He was a big guy, an old gruff mechanic, the old school ones. And he was a phenomenal technician. Well, back then you called him mechanics. He's an engine builder and performance engine builder. He did everything. But man, he was an intimidating guy. He was probably 6'7". I mean, big guy. His sons worked here. They were big, so he was an intimidating guy. It turns out he was really nice. I
Okay.
met him many decades later. But um, yeah, so when I originally I went to school in Chicago. I went for audio engineering at Columbia College in Chicago. I was a recording engineer in Chicago and live sound engineer for several years. Well, probably about 3 years after college, and I kind of missed Michigan, so I came back here. Couldn't really find any jobs in audio here. It wasn't that big of a city back then, but so when I'm working in a furniture factory, and I'm like, this is going nowhere. You're always worried about the economy, and whether your job was going to pack up and go to Chicago and that. So I thought I got to find something more stable. And I was always really good at working with my hands and tool and die in high school, all that kind of stuff. So I actually lied about my ability to work on cars to get into a dealership. I told him I knew how to change oil and I had my own tools, and I didn't even know what an impact was. He said, "You have an impact and all that," and I said, "Sure, yep." I just went along with it, and then, I mean, there was no YouTube back then either, back in 2001. Um, so I bought a Chilton manual, changed oil on my own truck, and that's how I learned how to change oil. Nobody taught me, and then I went to work at the dealership and did any and all training. And when I started there was a guy, he walked up to me, he said, "I'll give you 2 weeks. You're not going to make it, you know, in this industry." And so anyway, I took any and all training I could through that GM dealership, and I'm very thankful for how much they provided. I mean, they didn't have online training. It was like these CD-ROMs and then all that kind of stuff. And then I went to Detroit and Chicago to do hands-on stuff. And I actually ended up becoming master certified, ASE master certified in about 3 years. Um, and after a while, though, I just kind of got disenchanted with the dealership and the typical dealership stuff that a lot of guys have trouble with. I didn't hate my job there, but the warranty stuff and all that it just didn't seem right to me. But so I went out into the aftermarket to a local shop here, and man, that was almost worse. It was after about 5 years at the dealer, I went there, and that ended up being really brutal. It was flat rate, but then you also, if you broke something or whatever, you had to pay for the parts. I mean, it was really rough. I didn't like the way he was treating technicians. And so I was thinking about getting out of it altogether after only six years, and was going to go become a Michigan State Trooper. So I ended up applying for that. Oh, sorry, that I'm jumping ahead. I ended up, I thought about becoming a trooper then, and then my wife at the time, her best friend's husband was a technician, and he was sick of the business too, and we talked all the time. And then one time he just called and said, "Hey, this little shop is for sale on the corner, you know. Um, we should go check it out." And I was like, "Which shop?" And then he said, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh, I know that one." And what's funny is it was only a matter of months beforehand. I looked at the shop. I was sitting at the intersection. I looked at the shop. I saw guys working, and I was like, I just want a small thing like that. Simple, no frills, just keep it simple and, just work on cars and take the money, like make money for my family. And um, so anyway, he calls, weeks later, months later or something, and he said that's for sale. So we jumped right in, trying to buy it, and no one would give us loans. So our parents ended up taking loans out on their houses and to
Oh,
get us, you know, down payments on it and stuff. I mean, they weren't putting too much risk behind it. They didn't have to give us too much. But anyway, we jumped into it. And, this whole time I'm trying to buy this business in secret behind, because the shop I was working at is not far from here. So I would have been their competition. And I'm like, if we don't end up getting this business, I don't want to get fired beforehand, and all that stuff. So we did it all in secret. And then one day I just rolled up, and after we signed the sale, like the on the loans and everything, and went and got my toolbox that day and
and
started the next day.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a quick transition between changing oil to 7 years later I had my own shop. I don't know if that was the smartest decision at the time, but I was young and cocky, at 30 years old, 31 years old. You think you know everything, and yeah, so that's how I got the place.
And so, how long did your buddy stay with you? Was he still
Um,
there?
about 7 years, and at that point too, it was not what I expected. As most shop owners find out when they jump in, it's not that simple. Just fix the cars and
Get the money?
get the money. That's not it. I mean, we didn't know what we were doing at all. I mean, we didn't know anything about key performance indicators or anything. I mean, it was just flying by the seat of our pants. And so, about 7 years in, 6, 7 years in, I started thinking, this isn't going anywhere. And I was getting, I just was like, this is not going anywhere. So that's when I started really trying to become a state trooper. And I told my partner, I was like, I'll just sell it to you, whatever. And he said, well, I don't want it by myself, so we'll just sell it. And going through the state trooper thing and all that, I'm like, man, I mean, it's extremely difficult to become a state trooper in Michigan. It's, And I thought, well, I got two young twin daughters and a wife at home. I'm like, I don't know if I should be taking this risk of selling this place and then maybe not getting through the police academy and all that. And so I went to my partner and I said, I'll just buy your half and burn the boats, so to speak. Just go all in. And I did that. And, because I thought, well, I can do it better on my own, you get that attitude. And man, it led to a lot of hard years. I mean, not knowing what I was doing still, um, very stressed out, working months at a time without a day off, you know, day to night, all day long. You know the story. I mean,
So did you have employees back then?
I had one that was here when my partner and I, um, when my partner was still here, we had one technician.
Yeah.
So then it was just he and I, and we were all fired up, man. We were in the beginning, but we quickly were getting burnt out. We just, and when I say burn out, I mean to the point where I was nearly non-functioning after a while. Like, it was a bad scene. I got in over my head. I hired this coaching company, long contracts, and it wasn't ATI. It wasn't them. It was another one, but long contracts, and it was just really expensive, and I wasn't getting quality information either, and it nearly sank me.
You bought your guy out, you got one employee. So now you gotta watch all that plus
Yep.
you're paying the building utilities and still paying back loans.
Oh, and the loans were huge. I mean, they were very short-term commercial because I was purchasing the building. So, I mean, my payments were astronomical. I had to pay it back in 5 years, which is very difficult. It's funny how it works. Like, they thought of it as a high-risk thing, so they make the loan even shorter. The term's even shorter. So it's like they make it even harder to. But, and I honestly, my story is, I mean, I went through some very difficult times where I was like, again, I had this coaching firm and I'm trying to do too much too soon with not enough capital. And I was in trouble. I mean, it was very frightening. And this coaching firm, I mean,
They wanted
horrible.
their money. They wanted their money rather than
Oh
you
yeah,
or not.
they were really expensive, and they do the whole song and dance, and make you think it's going to be like this, that, and the other. It was kind of a one size fits all type of program, and that just doesn't work. It broke me down to the point. I mean, I had technicians. I had no. I mean, I was flying blind financially. I just fixing cars and spending money and going into debt and doing, just thinking, well, I'm supposed to do this stuff, and had no idea what I was doing.
Now what led you into that coaching firm?
I think I saw something online, or like it popped up in my email or something, and and so I jumped in and went to well, it was a thing for kind of one of those seminars you go to, like, this is going to be in your town, and then they pump you all up, and yeah, when you're going to be rich, and you're going to, all that kind of thing. It's almost like buying a timeshare or something like that. Like, they do the whole song and dance, flying to California to these classes that cost a fortune, and like it was, and I'm all pumped up. And little did I know, I mean, it was sinking the place. I mean, it just, there was no, they had consultants in this place that had never worked in the industry. It was automotive specific coaching firm. The people had never worked in automotive or owned an automotive shop. Or
Did you go to training events and industry events and association events? Were you involved in any of
I
that?
didn't know about any of that. You
Huh.
know, I went to local you know, technical training courses all the time. Um, I had taken a couple of management classes at like expos around here and stuff, and so I knew there was a way to do this, um, with, you know, what numbers to watch, that kind of thing. But I didn't have anyone to help me implement that and really get into the nitty gritty. It was, um, and it took nearly losing the business, and honestly, I kind of lost my mind. I mean, I was just burnt out, so stressed out. I mean, it was really frightening. I mean, it really sank me for a while. I mean, I was almost non-functional. I mean, but I still had this business I had, and a family to take care of, and so I had to keep going. And thankfully, with the help of my dad, he used to be chief financial officer at an insurance company, so he actually came in and was looking at numbers. And even though it wasn't related to automotive, he was very familiar with, and he helped me kind of not fly blind anymore, and it took a lot of digging out. I mean, it took a few years of digging out. And so then, I ended up, I don't know if you're familiar with Tom Ham, and I don't know how I got in touch with Tom, but he owns a shop near my house. And so stopped into his shop, and he recommended I talk to Rick.
Really? Because that's what
Yeah.
I was wondering.
Thought I needed something more also automotive specific.
Yeah.
So, and I asked Tom, and since I was having a lot of like more mindset issues too because of what I went through at the business, I mean, it broke me down mentally and all that. And he goes, "I recommend Rick White. He's into all that touchy-feely stuff, you know." So he said, you should go talk to him. He's a good guy. He thought he'd be a good fit for me, so that's when I started talking to Rick.
Over and over as I share the stories, I hear the same thing that folks don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And Tom Ham was local to you.
Yeah, I also went to a Bob Greenwood seminar here locally. I don't know if you're familiar with Craig
Uh-huh.
O'Neill, from
Yep.
O'Neill's Transmission here. He lives actually a block down from my shop. Yeah, I went into Craig's shop about a transmission issue on my truck. Um, and that's how we got to talking, and he started talking about coaching as well. And Bob Greenwood was his coach, and I went to a seminar. Bob was in town, and he put on something through ASA. Um, Ray Fisher was putting it on. Back then, he was just kind of a local. He was in charge of the local ASA. So anyway, I went to this seminar, Bob Greenwood seminar, and then went out to eat with Craig and Bob Greenwood and our wives and stuff. And I was in bad shape. I mean, mentally, I was in really bad shape. I was so burnt out and stressed out. And it was really good timing that I started seeing, okay, well, there's other coaches out here, like single coaches that give you one-on-one attention and things. And Bob had a ton of information too that helped. But there was something about Rick, Tom. I wanted to make sure, because there's a lot of good coaches, but you got to find one that fits you.
Amen.
Like,
Say that again, bro. One more
yeah,
time. You gotta
yeah,
find one that fits you. And the only way to
exactly.
do that is to go visit them, go to the events, meet them, talk to them.
Hmm. Yep. So, I talked to Rick, and he's helped me. I think he helped me. He helped me with the business side, but he has helped me through some very dark times, after all that, and then going through a divorce and all that. I mean, he's been more than just a business coach for me. I mean, he's been a friend. He's still getting me through a lot of stuff, business wise. And he's very mindset oriented, along with the along with the business side of things. And the way he teaches me the business stuff is so straightforward, and he knows QuickBooks really well. His spreadsheets are unbelievable. The stuff that he gets you to organize your business and stuff. I mean, he was just a perfect fit for me. I needed someone to be like, start here and do this next and do this next and do this next. And he'll work with you at your pace, because I was already feeling overwhelmed. I didn't need to change everything all at once. And he's not too hard on you. But I will have to say, with any coach, if you don't do what they say as much as you can, you don't have to do it all at once. But if you're not applying what they're teaching you, it took me a long time with Rick where I actually started applying it and getting really involved with it. He was so focused on getting me out of a hole mentally in this business of seeing that it can be good. And it's a mindset change that needed to happen. It took a long time just to get past that point. And now I really apply his stuff, and it is, I've doubled sales since I've worked with him.
Wow.
And one thing I want to point out is, if you go on you watch a lot of industry stuff, podcasts, things like that. Sometimes I always got the impression that I was like all these other guys, they just got it. Everything's going great. And why am I not like that? And and I had this expectation, and that's one thing about me is I will be authentic on these podcasts or anything else and tell you there are days when I'm okay with the business. There are some days I'm happy with it. But I would say there's probably more times that I'm stressed, I'm tired, overwhelmed. And that is a reality in business. I'm not, it's probably less of a reality for some, but I want other shop owners to know if you're having a hard time, you're not the only one. And that goes with any business. Automotive is one of the most complicated businesses there is, if you ask me. The overhead is just, it's crazy. Like when I got this shop, we had a paper calendar on the counter, we had a laptop, and with like the simplest form of like all data, just like we'd print actual invoices. Like we started out on paper and pen invoices. The guy who had this before didn't even have internet. So and we had an ad in the phone book. There were no smartphones. So they were just starting to come out. I think we got a website like a few years in. Like you didn't even really need that. And now it's customer retention software, diagnostic software, management systems, digital inspections. I was an early adopter of those with Auto Vitals. Mm-hmm. So it's very expensive to run a modern day shop. And the biggest stressor above money, above all else, is personnel. I can't tell you how many people I've gone through that have been cancerous and destructive to my business, having technicians that are or ones that just don't fit with each other, and finding ones that have the technical skill but also the personality that you can work with is the hardest thing, hands down, in this business. That is the most difficult thing. I had one technician once, he said, I was having trouble with how he interacted with people and everything. And he said to me, I traded my people skills for technical knowledge. And I said, that's probably your biggest mistake. I said, you can have all the technical knowledge in the world, but if you don't have, if you have a technician or a service advisor that has the knowledge and is able to work well with people, they can name their price in this industry today, and I will pay it. It's, and that's really the biggest thing for me in business now is I don't want to be wealthy per se. I just like safety, security, and a team that's as happy as you can make them. I got rid of flat rate. I still have some performance-based pay, but they're hourly with, I mean, even just their hourly rate is really good, but they also can add on to that with some performance-based pay. So, and then also providing, they have their own hand tools, all the basic stuff, but as far as diagnostic tools and special tools and test equipment, I pay for all that. And when they say they want something, I get it. And it took me a long time to be able to do that. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't, anyone starting out in this, I wouldn't tell them to try to do that right away. You know, you gotta watch how much debt you're getting into, how much you take on. You gotta understand your cash flow and things like that, and go slow. As long as you show your guys though that you are working on it every day on how to get there, and that you're working with them, you need them to help you get there. Ask your employees for help on getting through these things. And that helps them feel involved and empowered too. So, but yeah, the difficulty of running a shop now, and you know, I know a lot of shop owner or coaches, they say you can't work on your business, or you need to work on your business, not in it.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of absolutes that way. I don't think in absolutes. There's always gray area, in a shop like mine that's 3 bays with only 2 techs and a writer. I got to keep up on all the stuff because one of those techs might quit. My advisor might quit. And I got to jump in. So I stay up on the technical training and the management training. I'm too nervous to not work in it ever. Like I have a hard time leaving here in case there's a technical issue, because I've got very good technicians, but they do need me to help steer them the right way sometimes. And so I keep up on all that stuff. There's people that say, nope, bring your toolbox home and leave it there. And I'm like, no, not in the shop this small.
Amen, brother. I'm loving what you're saying. I'm
Yeah.
loving what you're putting out, and I want to agree with you when you say every shop has issues,
Mhm.
and you want to be honest. There's a lot of folks out there that will say, "Oh, I don't work in my shop. Oh, I don't have to be at my shop. Oh, blah blah blah." But you can go on Facebook, you can go on social media, and you'll see them at their shop. Oh, you know what I'm saying now,
Oh yeah. Oh
but
yeah.
they'll tell you, "Oh, I don't have to be at my shop. I don't have to work on it." And that's kind of, when we're saying, "Okay, we're doing everything we can, uh, to do the best for our customers. We're doing everything we can to do the best for our employees and their
Mm.
families." But it's also, we have to, I'm hearing you say that, yes, you do need to be at your shop and working on it, working in it. It's like, okay, you took time to share your story with us now, and that's a positive thing. You don't have to be right there for an hour or whatever.
Hmm.
But my question is, when's the last time you took a vacation?
I used to take a couple weeks off every fall and go elk hunting in Idaho, 2 weeks. I didn't draw a tag this year for Idaho, so I still have to. I don't take enough vacations. Rick will tell me. I am a little bit. I am getting over that fear of resentment from my guys. I don't want to be that. I'm of the
That's go-
mind of like the the general doesn't get a bigger tent. You
you
know.
don't, yeah, I'm hearing you. It's like, amen, brother,
Yeah.
because
And
it's,
it's
you don't
I
want to,
want to stay relatable to my guys, but I do need to start enjoying some of the benefits of being an owner too. But it's gonna I you know I have a therapist. I'm not afraid to say that, and he tells me, you know that's something you need to work on, actively work on. I've always felt like I can't leave because for so many years I couldn't. I was always, something's gonna blow up or something. two guys weren't going to get along or there'd be a problem. So I having trouble getting over that, and also the guilt of like I see other shop owners even around here. They just take off when they want to. Like they just get home from from Cabo, and they're there for 2 days, and then they're off to Key West. And I'm like, I will never be that. For one, I'm not that type of guy, but I do need to enjoy some of the freedoms of. But the guilt that comes along with it for me, I got to get over. I'm
Well,
always worried they're going to resent me. Oh, it must be nice. He gets to, But even my texts go, you can do that now. You
and
know.
when you're taking care of them,
Hmm.
and I completely hear you. It's like you don't want to have the biggest house, you don't want to have the biggest boat.
No.
But I saw that glisten in your eye there when you said, "Hey, I like to elk hunt."
Yeah.
And it's like
Yep.
you find your passion, and
Yep.
then you say, "Hey guys, I'm here all year long, and hunting season is, I got 2 weeks."
Hmm.
They understand, and it's
Yep.
like, it's like a family deal, and that's just your culture,
Yep.
and and I hear you, and I see you, and when you're going these struggles, and you think you're the only one, it's like no, there's a lot because when first time we shut down and we were like working our tails off before we left and then work our tails off when we got back, but all the customers were still there. The customers
Hmm.
is that's your big plus is the customers and your reputation in your area
Hmm.
that they say, hey, that's okay. We'd rather have you work on it. You know, uh, right now we're still part time and the people are lined up. They're waiting. We're weeks out
Hmm.
because they're like, I would rather you work on it. And, it comes back to what you offer, what your shop offers, the culture and knowing
Yep.
you hear the terms many times, the honest mechanic, but, and
Yep.
these people try to copy that phrase. And it's like, that's not a phrase you copy, that's a phrase you earn.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and so I'm listening to you, I'm hearing you, and I'm looking at you while you're talking on all these different events that have gone on, and
Hmm.
it's like I can pull up all these other social medias, and you'll see these other guys are going through it, even though they don't say they are. So
Yep. Yeah.
you're
I,
blessed,
I just
brother.
want people, I want to be as authentic as possible that if anyone is really, really struggling too, I mean, the depths of my struggle, I don't even have enough time to talk to you about it. I mean, 2 divorces, all this stuff. Yeah. I mean,
Oh my,
oh yeah, it's been a rough road, and I'm finally at the end of where a lot of these stressors and things are falling off, but as long as ever, if anyone ever needs someone to talk to about I'm happy to talk to anybody about, because I do feel like sometimes you go to some of the training events and things like that, and a lot of shop owners, they like to portray, and for some of them, maybe they are super passionate about it and they get, I'll be honest with you, I'm not the most passionate guy about automotive industry. I do it because it works for me, so it's a living, and I do get really interested in it at times, but other times I get burnt out on it, and I think there's a lot of people who would be afraid to admit that as a shop owner because they, you know, I just I want others to know that there's other shop owners that it's not all bed of
we're
roses,
all in the same place, all in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
we deal with
Yep.
the same cars, we deal
Hmm.
with, the same customers. You can have the best customers, and then you can have one call you on the phone or one come by and just ruin your morning, ruin your day,
Oh
ruin
yeah.
and we all
You,
have those.
you're gonna have hard times, and that's okay. That's you know, and that's coming full circle. That's why, as a shop owner, you do need to take vacations, and it's honestly kind of a stress test for your business to see what happens when you're gone. You gotta you gotta test it, and see how it runs without you, and then you come back and go over what didn't work while you were gone and what did.
And
Yep.
there's
Hmm.
software out there for
Hmm.
management systems now that's in the cloud that, these a lot of the guys they watch it on their phone. They can pull it up and go,
Mm.
okay, what did we do today? What did we get done? What did we not get ordered
I would recommend even shying away from a lot of that too when you're away.
when you're away?
Like, yeah, I mean, maybe check in once or twice a week, but honestly, it shows a level of trust to your guys. I mean, that you trust them. If you just go, I know you can handle it, and you check in once in a while. Like maybe if I'm gone for a week, I'll check in maybe a couple times,
All the time.
you know.
That's
But
interesting. Because
yeah,
if
I
you're out there
just you
with
gotta
the
be able to
elk,
let
and
go.
you're out there with the elk and your phone beeps, it makes
Oh, you're not getting any phone service out there, you know, and that's you gotta be able to let go, loosen the grip on the steering wheel, or else you'll drive yourself crazy. You know, unless you enjoy it, checking in, and you know, there's some guys who just really they enjoy it, but I know for me, I gotta give it a rest once in a while. It's hard though. You
say,
do you
I
do want to check in all the time and make sure everything's okay, but you gotta let go once in a while. At least I do. Maybe not everyone has to do that, but I do. So,
that's so neat to hear you say that because, and I believe there's a lot of folks that need to hear that out there. A lot of shop owners.
oh, you can burn yourself out bad. I mean, you can to the point where you're doing harm to your business. You're gripping that steering wheel so hard, and when you're burned out, you're not going to make good decisions. And plus, you got to empower your team too, so they know that you trust them to handle things while you're gone. They want to feel that you trust them, you know, and you empower them to make decisions while you're not there.
Oh my gosh. Amen, brother. Yes,
Yeah,
preach on some more.
yeah,
And I love hearing the story about how you checked out some different coaches
mm-hmm,
after you went through a bad situation. And then all of a sudden it was like, wow, Rick gets me. I get Rick
mm-hmm.
because they can tell you stuff. And another thing you pointed out that I want to reinforce is there's a difference between coaching companies that are like corporations
Oh yeah, I don't
and
recommend that.
ones that are more one-on-one
Mm-hmm,
because it's like, hey, I hire on, and you can see right behind here we have 180 biz on there. When you
mm-hmm.
hire on and you talk with Rick.
Oh yeah,
Rick
yeah,
doesn't Rick doesn't say, oh well, I'm going to assign this guy to you.
yeah.
It's a
No,
problem.
no, it's he's got a couple guys that help him. You know, and then his wife Brenda and his daughter Shannon. He's got a team there. But when you I can text Rick and say I need to talk to you about something directly. And he'll make time for you. Sometimes I don't think he makes enough time for himself, but as a he's a workhorse. But
I hear you
um,
because I've been at the events with him and
oh
seen
yeah,
her teaches the classes, and then he'll sit out there and have be available for folks to come by and talk to and ask questions, and and then he's got all this other stuff that he does for free for the industry. The morning Monday morning,
yeah,
just
yep,
one thing,
yep. Just
and
one
then
thing, and
the shop owners roundtable that was last week, and so
yeah.
it is amazing, and I'm glad you shared that about these stories with Rick. I
Yeah,
mean,
and he's not paying me to say this. I'm not getting a
yeah.
discount or anything. I just, and he may not be the best fit for everybody, you know? Like I said, there's a lot of coaches, great ones, you know? I like to go to classes from other coaches too when I'm at a training event too, and Rick encourages that, so you can get a variety. And Rick doesn't have contracts and all that stuff because he knows if it's not a good fit, he doesn't want you to, you know,
Waste your money.
yeah. And I think he does kind of come down to where you're at. Um, like for me, he always wants people to find their why. Why do they do this? Well, honestly, right now I don't really know what my why is. I think your why changes and stuff, but most of all for me, uh, I didn't like the industry and I wanted to get out of it, and I'd like to be part of that change of there's a reason we don't have any technicians because they've been treated poorly for a very long time, and there's other trades that pay have way more stable pay, and you know,
Don't
um,
have to buy near as many tools.
yeah, not nearly as much training, um, and they pay really well. You know, a lot less stressful. Um, so Rick is almost like he calls me kind of a hippie because I'm into yoga and meditation and all that stuff to to be able to handle running a business and all that. But he knows that about me. He knows money is not my motivator. It is not my motivator at all. Like I do well for myself now. Um, Took a very long time and a hard road, but I realize that more money doesn't bring me more happiness, and he understands that. So he kind of works, he helps me with my business and how I can give back to me and my guys in other ways. My biggest thing is I hate turnover. I can't stand employee turnover. That is the most stressful thing for me. I want a good team that likes being here as much as you can. You can't keep everybody happy all the time, but that's my biggest thing is company culture. And honestly, I think every business in this country needs, I think they're being forced to look at it now. It's, you need to take care of your team, uh, and make sure they have a good life outside of here. Um, Help them find their goal, help them find out your business and working for you can help them get what they want outside of work. Otherwise, I mean, that's what you need to do. And Rick's helped me. Um, he's helping me get to that vision that I have, you know. I mean, Eric from Irvine's and stuff, he kind of has the same vision as well. Irvine's is another, I don't know if you're familiar with Irvine's here. They're a really good shop around here too. And that's another thing too. We have a shop owner, West Michigan shop owners group. We all meet together once a month, and that's pretty cool too. I would encourage other shop owners, get with other shops in the area and start forming their own, because you can go over problems and solutions, and it's pretty cool. Rick helps me get into all that stuff.
Gosh, this is so, I'm so grateful that you're sharing this. And I'm hoping that I can get it out enough, for these other folks that need to hear it.
Oh
You have a
yeah, I
story.
honestly just I want, um, to prevent other shop owners from going through some of the hard stuff that I could have avoided had I had the knowledge. And that's with why we have that shop owners group here too. Is there's a lot of shop owners out there that don't know there's another way to do this, you know, and that there's another way that this industry needs to head, or it's going to be we're not going to have any technicians left, you know. So we're all trying to change the industry the best we can.
Yes, there you go, as best as you can. So
Hmm.
you rely on the talents that you have and the connections that you have. Now, the last thing I want you to share is you were talking from not going to events to now there's events that you go to. What are some of the ones that you go to? And do you take your guys with you? Do you close down like
Well,
provision and stuff like that? Or tell me
I'm
how you
ashamed to
handle
say
things.
that I have not been to some of the bigger ones like
Oh,
Vision, or
okay.
I'm planning
Apex,
on that.
Apex
Yeah,
SEMA?
Apex, none of that yet.
Okay.
Um, I There's the auto value bumper to bumper one here that Rick was at, um, earlier this year, in February. That's becoming a pretty big one. Um, but I have done a lot of, I've traveled around to do single classes, like if there's a coach in town, or all the John Thornton classes for sure. I mean, he used to come here quite a bit. Now is mostly online, but I have yet to get to some of the larger events. But again, it was always like, can I leave? Can I, you know? But now I know I can. So I'm gonna head out to some of these things and get to them, because people just look at me like, what? You haven't been to Vision or Apex? I mean, they haven't, they're like, what are you doing? And I love going to stuff like that because it really rekindles the spark and the fire in me to, you know, for the business and the industry.
Now, and just to encourage you, this year was
Mm.
my first year at Vision.
Now, one thing I want to add to that, you asked about bringing my team. of course, we do a lot of technical training with the whole team, and I go to all that too because, like I said, I got to keep up on this stuff. Plus, I'm still really interested in the technology, not just the business side. I'm actually more interested in working on cars than the business, but um, diagnostics and things like that. But uh, when Rick was in town, um, he was teaching a class before the auto value bumper to bumper thing on how to sell diagnostics. It was total management service advisor stuff, but I brought my technicians as well. And they were really happy they went because now they understand some of the thing, why we do the things we do, and
Light
how,
bulb.
yeah, and they met Rick, you know, and they thought, well, that's why he pays this guy to help him out, and things because so I think bringing your team to some of those type of if technicians and stuff to some of those type of classes are that can be helpful too, so they can see why you make decisions that you make as an owner, um, that type of thing. So
Gets them on the same page.
yep,
And
exactly.
that was the event that was at Merchant Automotive, and
Yep.
they had like 60 or 70
Yeah.
is one class.
Yeah. Yep. It
It
was a
was
lot of people, and it was pretty cool, merchant to host that. So yeah, and my guys were really happy they went. They understood, because a lot of my guys, I'm like, well, we have to sell this much diag time for this, and they're like, well, no one's gonna pay that, and I'm like, uh, they kind of need to because that's what it takes these days. It's
probably.
innate. And now, when I try to play the game of telephone of you hear from a coach or from a business trainer and you try to convey that information to your team, you're not going to do a good job at it. So it was good to hear it, from Rick, who can put it, can make it more clear, uh, and concise. It was really important. So
And understanding the value that
oh yeah.
there's value in what you do. It's like no other industry will do stuff for free
No.
like the automotive industry has done for years. And it's like, okay, well, at the very beginning, you talked about overhead and
Hmm.
cost of doing business,
Hmm.
and you're ending this with overhead and the cost of doing business.
Yep.
Like, okay, it
We all
comes.
have to be deprogrammed from the old ways. That's and even
And,
my technicians still, even though the new way helps them more, they're not used to it, you
and
know?
you're in an old school building.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, well, I remember, they'd go out there and check the oil for free, and they'd put air in the
Oh
tires
yeah,
and
yeah.
wash the windshield. And yeah, I appreciate everything you're saying,
Yep.
and it's so freshening to hear someone say, "Yes, we all go through this, and these are the deals,"
Mhm.
and you know, we're not just blowing smoke. Some of these are saying, "Hey, yeah, work on." It's like
Well,
this is real life.
yeah, it's real life, and I will always. I'm not gonna pretend to be something I'm not on any of these interviews or anything like that, and just so that people know, I've been through in some dark, dark places and have come out of it, and they can too. So
That's what folks need to have a
but
little
it's a
encouragement.
lifelong journey.
Yeah.
You gotta take care of yourself mentally and physically if you're gonna be a shop owner or a technician or an advisor. It's very important to get into that kind of stuff. The mindset is and taking care of your mental health as well as your physical health is very important.
Amen. And with those last great words
Mm.
from you, I think we'll end this. And like I said, hopefully the people who watch this on the replays will publish this out.